Good morning. Should I be playing video games right now? Should you? That touches on a deeper question of how do you tell the difference between when you are resting and when you're just wasting time. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm Coulter Reed. I'm here to help you get the day-to-day out of the way so that you can stop chasing the dream and start living the dream. Let's get going. So, the first question to ask yourself is, should I be taking a break? And the answer is yes. You absolutely should take breaks. There is too much research has been done in this area. Excuse me. Oh, we might have some technical difficulties. We'll see if this holds up. Too much research has been done in this area. We are not machines, and even machines need downtime where they can rest, they can have maintenance. So, yes, you absolutely need to be taking breaks. So the question then becomes, why am I not moving? There we go. Okay, now I've got the gas on. The question you have to ask yourself is how much. For some reason, I don't have an accelerator this morning. All right. The question you need to ask yourself is more of, okay, how much should I be taking a break? How much should I be working, and how much should I be taking a break? So the question is, well, what's your duty cycle? This is going to be a terrible run. For whatever. Oh, we're having technical difficulties. So the question to ask yourself is, what's your duty cycle? The duty cycle of a signal is how much time you're spending working versus how much time you're spending taking breaks. So, for example, if you were working all the time and never taking breaks, that would be a duty cycle of 100%. And we've already established that that's not feasible. That's not sustainable. That's not a good way to try to work. So, what is a good duty cycle to shoot for? If you were working half the time and only, then you'd have a 50% duty cycle. And I don't know, to me that sounds like it's a little bit low, but depending on what your line of work is, that might actually be kind of feasible, kind of reasonable. If you're doing something that is extremely demanding, and when you're on, you have to be on. There are lives at stake. Then maybe that is the sort of duty cycle that you need to have. I mean, I can imagine if you work on a bomb squad. You get called in. You work for an hour or two, and then you take some well-deserved time off because that's just the nature of your work. If you're familiar with the Pomodoro technique, then you're already breaking your work up by working for 20 or 30 minutes and then taking a break for 5 or 10 minutes. So think of it in terms of half an hour. What are you doing with it? And if you work for 20 minutes, take a 10-minute break. Work for 25, take a 5-minute break. 2010, that would be it's a 67% duty cycle. 25-30, or 25 and 5. And unfortunately, we're having technical difficulties this morning. So we'll just talk to camera. So if you have, if you do a 25-5 split, then that's an 83% duty cycle. Doing the just napkin math here. And those are pretty well demonstrated to be a way to keep your productivity up. So you're not you're keeping energy high, so that you're not burning out. If you just sit down at your desk and try to work all the way through, then you're not going to have you're going to burn out. You're going to get tired. Your productivity is just going to start to tank. And so the Pomodoro technique is a tried and true method of just taking little micro breaks throughout the day so that you keep your energy fresh. So in the micro, that 70 to 80% duty cycle, that seems like a pretty good baseline to start from. Now from there, let's take a step back and look at the macro a little bit. Where, what are you doing over the course of the day? So if you have a 8-hour workday, let's say you work 4 hours in the morning, break for lunch, 4 hours in the afternoon. Well, you're not going to sit down and work for 4 hours, take a break and work for 4 hours. You're already breaking things up because you're using the Pomodoro technique. But beyond that, maybe we should work a couple more breaks into our day. And so, you show up at work, and let's say the first Pomodoro is just your workday startup routine. You check email, you make sure that your water bottle is full, ready to go, and you're getting started, reviewing your tasks for the day, the list that you wrote the night before you went home, and now you're getting going. So that's your first Pomodoro. You've got 7 more Pomodoros. So how about workday startup? Do 3 Pomodoros of work, take a Pomodoro of rest, and then 3 more Pomodoros. Well, what should you do during that Pomodoro of rest? We'll get to that in just a second. Then you break for lunch. The afternoon looks pretty much the same. Do maybe 3 Pomodoros of work, take a Pomodoro of rest, 3 more Pomodoros of work, and then you have a Pomodoro to shut things down for the day, get ready to go home, change gears to your non-work life, and come back and do it again the next day. So the workday startup and shutdown, those count as work. That is part of work. So that you've got out of 7 Pomodoros, or out of 8 Pomodoros, 7 of them are time that you're spending working. So that right there, 7 out of 8, that's 3/4 would be 75%. So halfway between 75 and 100. Math is failing me now. What is that? 87%. So 87%. That's perfectly reasonable. And even by the time you factor in the micro breaks from each individual Pomodoro, you're still looking at 70-75%. So that seems like a pretty reasonable. To me, that seems like a pretty sustainable pace of work. Now, what do you think? Now, what should you be doing while you take those breaks? Well, one thing that you can definitely do is get off of. Mute the switch. I think the switch audio is still coming through. So. One definite thing that you can do is just get away from your desk. Go take a walk. Walk around the building, get outside if you can. If there's a park nearby, fantastic. If you work from home, just go out, walk around the neighborhood. Stepping away from your desk has huge benefits. Not only does it give your brain a chance to change gears, but you're also getting some more physical activity. You're getting the blood flowing. You're changing position. If you're sitting all the time, your body gets to being used to one position, and regularly getting up and taking breaks and walking around is very good for you from a health perspective. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle said that a change is as good as a break. So maybe there's something else that you can work on. If you're doing a very mentally challenging task for work, then maybe if you just change gears and do something that is more, that just uses a different part of your brain, then that might be as good. Now, there is a pitfall to watch out for there, because with that line of thinking, it's very easy to fall into the trap of thinking that, I can't ever actually take a break. I just need to go from doing one productive thing to a different productive thing. I'm productive, still. And no, you can take breaks. You can absolutely take breaks. It's okay to stop. Now, maybe you go from working on a high value, high energy task, and you switch to doing a high value, low energy task, and for a Pomodoro, and that's your break. That's maybe that's how you break. Just remember that it's okay to take breaks. Rest is a valuable quality to activity. It's important, but it's not one of those urgent things that we think about, and so we tend to put it off because we think that, oh, I'm just wasting my time, which is a quadrant 4 activity, not important and not urgent. And it is easy to try to escape work by going into quadrant 4, where we just don't want to deal with our responsibilities. We don't want to deal with the things that we have to do. And so we go to quadrant 4 just to hide and shirk our responsibilities. But rest is a quadrant 2 activity, and it is absolutely okay to factor this into your day. Not only just the micro rests that come from just the Pomodoro technique, but also then taking a Pomodoro in the morning, Pomodoro in the afternoon, just get away from your desk and do something completely different. If you read the 12-week year, also advocate, just as you schedule your week, schedule a 2 or 3 hour block of time in the middle of the week, in the middle of the work week, to go off something different. Maybe it's like you take a long lunch one day and go have a golf lesson. Some purely hypothetical situation. Not that I don't regularly do exactly that. It's a lot of fun. It really breaks up the day. Just have to make sure that you have bounds on your rest time so that it doesn't take over your day and you still have that high quality duty cycle. The next question you need to ask yourself, now that we've talked about the quantitative aspects of taking a break, ask yourself some qualitative questions. Quantitative and qualitative. I always have to stop and remember which one's which. Quality and quantity, yep, got it. I just have to remember which word's which. So, qualitative. How are you more rested after taking the break? Are you more capable of doing work? Because that's kind of the point. That's the reason why you're taking the break. Mental fatigue builds up just as much as physical fatigue does. It's the same reason why farmers will rotate crops, because growing the same crop over and over again does the same thing. You have the same, you exhaust the soil, and so it has to change crops. We need to, our brains need a change of pace. And getting back to video games, I use a very different part of my brain when I'm working than when I'm racing. And so, it's a different part. It's a different part of my brain. It gives me something else to think about. And so, yes, I can come back. I take that mental break, and I come back, and I'm ready to get back on the problem. Even just getting out and taking a walk with nothing to think about gives your brain a chance to step back and just process the problems rather than trying to actively find a solution to them. It's very easy to get so caught up in trying to find a solution that we just start running ourselves ragged in circles. And we don't think about, we don't actually think about the problem. We just try to go from solution to solution to solution instead of giving ourselves a chance to digest the problem and break it down. And depending on what the problem is, I might need the quiet of just going on a walk with nothing to think about. I might go on a walk and put on a podcast or an audiobook, something to think about. Just to give my brain something else to think about, or video games. It's a different tool in the toolbox. It has a different effect on my mind and my thought process. In any of those situations, I am still disengaging my brain so that I'm not constantly flooring it and trying to constantly find the solution. But it lets me step back, and I've got a couple of different tools that I can use to disengage my brain and just put it, and keep chewing on it in the background, but giving the front of my brain something else to think about. pay attention to when you start having thoughts like, oh, I should really be doing something else. Or, it was good to take a break, but yeah, I have to work. Because it's probably about that. It's probably about that time. And video games specifically, this is one of the places that you have to be a little careful about. Because many video games are designed to grab your attention and just keep you playing the game. Some games, the developer has a financial interest in bringing you into the game and getting you to just play the game over and over and over. You just keep playing it because they're showing you ads or they're charging you for microtransactions. Where the more you play the game, the more likely it is that you are going to give them money, and so they have a direct financial interest in your attention. And a lot of the pickup, just the pick up and play games. There's a term for these. I'm spacing what the term is. That there are games that are specifically designed for, you have 5 minutes because you're waiting in line and you're going to get bored with, you have nothing to do for 5 minutes. Here, pull out our game, pull out your phone, play this game, and we will save you from being alone with your thoughts. I'm not a fan of those games. If I'm going to play, I'm going to take time and switch modes, and playing is what I'm doing. Something like Mario Kart, Nintendo does. I don't think Nintendo actually cares how much I am playing Mario Kart. They want me to use it, sure, great, but I've bought the Switch, I've bought the game. The transaction's done. It makes no difference to their bottom line whether I play it for 1 hour a week or 3 hours a day. So, and it's not just video games. I mean, you can get wrapped up into a book the same way. It just has to do with, how much you are switching gears, how engaging you find the activity, and so. I mean, are books designed to go after your attention to the same degree that a video game is? No, not really. Can you get wrapped up in either one and start paying attention to the restful activity instead of the productive activity that you should be getting back to? Yeah, absolutely. Whatever your rest is, put a bound on it, so that you are being intentional about your duty cycle. And how much time you're resting and how much time you're working on being productive. So one of the traps, a couple of the traps to watch out for as you're asking yourselves these questions are the notion that I will get more done if I just push a little bit harder. Because that's where we end up not taking a rest at all. We go from one productive activity to another one. We just try to fit in a little bit more, and that works for short periods of time, but that is not sustainable long term. Long term, you're going to burn out. The ideal number of productive hours in the week is right around 36 hours. It's just under the 40-hour work week that we've standardized on for the last 100 years. Going from like 36 to 40 hours, there's not much. There are some slight gains. You do get more at 40 hours than you do at 36, and that keeps increasing gradually up until about 50 hours per week, but then it starts falling off very quickly, and you soon get to the point where you are less productive than if you had just stopped a long time ago. But that's a whole other topic that we could get into. This is more. I want to stay focused more on the just within the course of a day. We can talk about the course of a week and what months look like another time. But excuse me. Do take breaks. You can push harder in the short term, but you do need to take breaks. We also have another trap that we fall into is the notion that I can't rest until all the work is done. I think this is something that we accidentally teach our kids, when we were kids, and so then that's something that we pass on to our kids. This notion that you have to do all your homework before you can watch TV. You have to clean your room before you can go outside and play. Things like that. The intention is to teach the work ethic that yes, you need to work. You can't just play all the time. But the truth is, when you're a kid, the definition of work is very small and self-contained. You have homework to do. You have to clean your room. You have to weed the garden, whatever. Work is small and well-defined units. When you're an adult, the work never ends. And so whether you put in, if you put in a 40-hour week, there's still work to do. Leave it for next week. If you push and put in 50, 60, 70, 80 hours in a week, which a lot of people do in a lot of industries, there's still more to do, isn't there? But you need to take the break. You still need to take breaks because the work is never going to stop. And so what you need to learn is, how do you pace yourself? And depending on what you do what you do determines what your ideal duty cycle is. It depends on what you do for a line of work. It depends on you as an individual. And even from day to day, you're not going to have the same duty cycle from one day to the next. But there are trends. You'll figure out where your ideal baseline is. Figure out what works for you. It's probably somewhere in that 70 to 80%. So start around there as you're planning. If you're looking for some place to get started, try, taking, in a 4 hour, in a 4 hour block of work, like before work, after work, take 20, 30 minutes in there. Start there. And just step away from your desk. Go take a walk. If you have something, if there's a specific activity that you want to change gears and go into, that's fine. Walking definitely has health benefits. I highly recommend it. But yeah, if you want to pull out a book, you want to carry around a Switch and play video games, go for it. Just be intentional about how you're spending your time. Because we do need to play. We do need to have fun. We are more productive when we have fun, and when we design our work so that work is sustainable. Then that's when we start getting the most done, and that's when work is fun. We enjoy it more when we are able to take breaks. And always remember that there's a reason why we're doing what we're doing. The point of being productive is not some kind of high score. Back to video games, but productivity is not just a high score where we're seeing how many boxes can we check off today, and all right, tomorrow let's check off 10 more boxes. That's not sustainable. Productivity is not an end unto itself. We are being productive for a reason. There is something else that we want to go do. We want to be productive so that we can take the work that we need to do today and get it done so that we can change gears and go do something else. Go spend time with friends, with family, with the people, causes, activities that mean the most to us. And the way we do that is by learning how to incorporate rest into our schedule and not just waste our time. So thank you for joining me. If you've caught this live, I appreciate you being here. If you're catching on the replay, go Team Replay. Hi, good to see you too. So I am Colter Reed. I am here to help you get the day-to-day out of the way so that you can stop chasing the dream and start living the dream. I'll see you next time.